Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We've got finally our finals, which I'm really excited to bring with Bossmtg, who is on the line with us. We're just going to be going through the final matchup with Connell, and just been really great to get to play amongst these players and bring, a bit of commentary just so that folks can really learn a bit more about what it is to really try and play at the highest levels. So, boss, if you want to say hello, feel free to hop in.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Tom Ross, Boss MTG on social media. A former pro Magic player and former writer, and also a former designer of Spellslingers back in 2018. And I've really just fell in love with the game. It's been really fun. We're playing a tournament from our clan, MTG-SS, starter deck only tournament, which is kind of picking up steam now because it's just such an approachable format. But yeah, I made it to the finals of this tournament. And it was hosted, or it was sponsored by one of our teammates, Mr. Aardvark, for $100, which is very kind of him, and shout out to him, thank him. But I just want to tell you about how the finals went and like how you should approach a starter deck event in the future, and hopefully get some insights from this video.
Yeah, thanks, boss. It really is a cool format, and I think, you know, I know as a clan and as a team, like we've wanted to do different things, and I think it is a really great way of, especially even new players, playing in a sort of tournament style, and being able to access, they have the starter decks and can just kind of hop in, and there's its own strategy to it. So really excited to have you and be able to hear your input. I'm sure plenty of players have played against you. Unfortunately, Mon Man knocked me out here in the tournament, but another excellent player. So yeah, I'm ready to get into it, and we'll see how these games went for you.
Yeah, Lemon is an awesome format in Magic the Gathering, and it's pretty good in Spellslingers too. Um, the limited version of Spellslingers is kind of the starter deck event. You can try to like draft or whatever, but that's a little bit tougher to do because you have to have a deep collection. But this is approachable for any player as long as they have like a couple keys. So you have to play like a couple hours. But that's really a low starting point, and really just opens the gates for new players to walk in and have fun in events like this.
100%. Yeah, I think we're gonna hopefully do more and more as a community. So,
All right, let's get the video
Teferi
started,
for
huh?
game one. All right.
So we duel via code against Connell.
Teferi versus
Um,
Raska. Definitely some strong choices. What was there a reason that you started with Teferi, boss?
I think Teferi is the strongest. So that's basically why I chose him. So the Teferi starter doesn't have a ton of traps in it. Doesn't
Yeah.
have as many as like a standard version would. So I try to just keep all the traps I can.
I love this like aggro hand from Teferi here. With the one drop, two drop, you got shields up, absorb. But yeah, I imagine just the raw card advantage of when you land those three traps in the game, being able to draw two cards is a pretty attractive reason for playing Teferi.
Right. For those that play Magic, there's a default rule for playing draft or whatever. When in doubt, just play blue white because blue white has like all the tools that you need, regardless of like however the draft is structured. Like you always have some flyers, you'll find some removal, and the keys to limited is just play removal and flyers. The lower power level of the format, the more important those concepts become. And Teferi is best of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that is really helpful for people to know. So interesting. You're just beating down here, Connell. Probably looking for, I would guess, like a cheaper card off of the Vraska's throne, and maybe just trying to. Okay, got some removal there. Definitely starting to set up some defenses and played around absorb. I mean, they probably had the ability to there, so there's not too much you could have controlled about that.
Yeah, I was definitely smart on Connell, but my options weren't that great. I could have played another Elite Vanguard. The shields up wouldn't do anything, so I was going to spend, 1 mana on my 3 mana turn, or I could just leave up Absorb, and he played around it very well, so I don't mind it. Absorb's going to be a good card later in the game, or any point in the game, really.
Very, very true. And how did you feel when you got to play the cards like Frostlinks and the Rhino that stun when they come into play?
I think they're awesome. My first deck was a Vivian deck, and I just, I didn't have any of the cards. I just played Frostlinks. It's a fine card. Gives you some tempo.
Yeah.
We'll see Teferi Staff later, but it's one of the cards that really sets the starter deck of Teferi apart from others, because you can draw cards from outside of the starter deck pool, and usually those cards are stronger than your initial cards you have in your deck. Kano also has that ability with Vraska's Throne, which also makes Vraska very, very strong starter deck to both both on power level and difficulty to play around.
So you were hoping to get the block here with shields up instead of trading, instead of like attacking it, and they could have just blocked with the 1/1.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't want to run my 4/3 into their 1/1.
Yeah.
If they didn't have the 1/1, I definitely would have attacked.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely a really efficient turn from you, and be interested to see if you nab something here.
Yeah, I'm fine to nab some or not. If I don't, then I have Chapel Guys plus Absorb again. This Elite Vanguard didn't do much in my hand. Like, if I put it in play, it's probably not gonna have profitable attacks. You'll see me just kind of nurse at my hand until I have a better spot. But that's something in Magic too. Like, if you don't need to play your land, don't play your land. If you don't need to play your creature in your hand because it doesn't do anything to the battlefield, especially when this Relentless School's in play, just don't cast it, and maybe the game state will change later.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just thinking, I sort of had talked about, you're almost like playing in the future, right? Just like really thinking about what can maximize, what can be more maximized if you maybe wait a bit and see how the board state is, or how different card exchanges go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, maybe they trade off their 1 power creatures, and then then Elite Vanguard will be a quote unquote surprise. But yeah, it's not gonna do anything right now. Maybe we'll do something this turn. We're about to hit the 7 mana turn.
Ooh, Disorient. Definitely happy to see a trap for your passive ability here. And man, Connell with the double Vraska's Throne in the beginning is definitely pretty huge advantage for him.
Yeah, it's definitely strong. It's their best sack outlet in their deck.
Gutfire
Look
double.
like they found a Gutfire.
Wow.
Often strong in standard. Not great on this board state when I have maybe 3 toughness creatures and have so much life.
Yeah, definitely. From when people were playing Teferi, right, one of the better ones in the mirror match you could get off of staff was the I think it's 4 mana now that makes 2 devils, like to just refill your deck. So I feel like I'm traumatized just seeing the devils come down when playing Teferi.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago when Teferi was the best deck, the format or the matchup really boiled down to who got Dance of Devils.
Yeah, right, Dance of Devils.
Lots of Teferi stuff, because about half the games I played boiled down to decking each other.
Yeah, I found that to be true as well. It was always an interesting thing of like, okay, do I run into some traps and like just have my opponent maybe draw some cards and be up on cards, or how slow do I want to play things?
So yeah, I didn't play the Elite Vanguard until it looked better on the board, and I don't know if it actually caused my opponent to play Soul of the Woods, which Elite Vanguard matches up well against.
Yeah.
But maybe it did, maybe it didn't. It didn't cost me anything, so. here I'm trying to get through this Soul of the Wood in the air.
Yep.
I want to match my shields up to save my Chapelgeist. Here I just take the strongest card, just the most pound for pound card, which is a 5/5. I have essentially infinite mana at this point.
Yep.
We're both playing basic lands, none of the lands that, you know, like Woodland Hermitage that get you a card at the expense of a mana gem. You're just gonna get a mana gem every turn.
Yeah, and I really like how you sequence the turn. I know you're probably very accustomed to it, Tom, when you're been playing Magic for as long and being an ex-pro. But, you know, sometimes I'll see players who, like, get an Isochron Scepter or Teferi Staff, and their first instinct isn't to, like, use it and then craft their turn. But I think, I'm assuming you would agree that, you know, when you're going to draw cards, it's almost always the best thing to do first, unless there's a specific condition, so that you can then add those into how you want to play your turn out.
Right, yeah, it's just a sequencing. You just want the most information up front before you make any decision that you don't entirely know the outcome of, such as how they block or how they respond to you. So if you can get cards in your hand first, that's awesome. And then you can adjust your decisions later.
Yep. Yeah,
last turn, I left up both traps, expecting one of my creatures to die. If I had 4 creatures, both my traps weren't triggered, but I did expect one of my creatures to die, so I left up both. You should leave up both anyway, but just saying.
Yeah.
So I can't get through this 12/12, so I just have to jam into it. There's no, like, Immolated Glares or Power Word Stuns in this deck. But there's enough beef in the deck, too. You have, like, Ceremonial Guards and Rock's Pit Fighters, so you can deal enough actual combat damage to it to get rid of it. Also, they have Overrun in their deck, and I just want to keep their battlefield pretty low.
Yep, that's definitely a card that makes sense to be thinking about as you're trying to look at the pace of the game. And you made some pretty great choices with just grabbing the Call of the Winds and just trying to apply pressure in the air.
Yeah, at this point, I can't beat them on the ground, and I just have to win in the air, which is a little bit daunting, seeing that they're 26. But the way this hand is sculpted out, I don't really have a choice.
Exactly. I mean, at least this turn, right? You're like, okay, I can play my 5/6. I can prep Call the Wind because I'm going to have to trade some stuff off. Got absorbed for whatever they play next. And so it'll definitely be about just trying to win that race and keep yourself healthy enough to close things out in the air.
Yeah, so I make the obvious block of 5/6 on the 5-power creature. Yep. Whittling down the Megasaurus, keeping my flyers alive. I don't want the clumsy Torchbearer to die because it represents 14 damage spread across my stuff, and I can't really afford to lose my flyers at this moment.
Yeah, so Absorb nabbing that Grotesque was pretty solid. I imagine they were just going to jam that on the Torchbearer.
I get kind of fortunate here and draw 3 of my most expensive cards, which are great at this point in time. I'm throwing my 3/1 into the fray here. I think it looks like it's about to be blocked by the 7/7 Clumsy Torchbearer, which will make it easier to die, make it more difficult on me. But I really want this Armored Angel in play. I think it more easily represents lethal. So either I'm going to replace the 5/1, or I'm going to attack with and put 5 damage on, likely the Torchbearer.
Yeah, definitely agree with this thinking here. I mean, you're dealing 11 on this swing, right? And so if you're kind of saying to yourself, okay, if they have a removal spell, right, they've got a Turn to Stone or something like that, it's going to be annoying, but you've got so many lethal flyers that, and playing an armored creature is obviously just really, really nice for you.
So with its attack, I'm going to have to roll a dice.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they can't kill the Torchbearer. They use both thrones, but they can replace creatures. They can go up to 5 creatures, go up to 6 creatures, replace the Torchbearer. Then I could die, or I could lose my Armored Angel if if I lose Armored Angel and another flyer, then I don't lose. But if it whacks me, then I'll lose. But that was a risk I had to take. I couldn't block any other way, I don't think. Yeah, if they would hit the Armored Angel here, the Dark Gladiator would have hit the Armored Angel, and I kept the Vulcan turn and like another 2-drop thing. I think they could have lived, but yeah, it just didn't line up for him. But it was a calculated risk on my part, and unfortunately, I was able to win that.
Wow, really came down to that turn. It was pretty interesting.
All right, so we'll hop right into another one. So I'm up 1-0. We're playing best 3 out of 5. You can't win with 2 Spellslingers, so I have to win with somebody else. If Connell wants, he can play Vraska again until he wins with him, or wins with her.
From that spot, were you thinking about? Okay, so Connell ends up choosing differently. Do you think it would be reasonable for them to run Vraska back again?
Yeah, I think Vraska's the second best Spellslinger. That's why I'm playing Vraska right now. Maybe they expect I play Vraska and believe that Kiora is a good matchup against Vraska, which, I mean, kind of is. Yeah. So I mulligan every card that wasn't a removal spell, and I mulligan into some removal. Vraska has very big creatures, like from Octopumbler to the Leviathan they get. And I think I just want to have for sure answers to beat those while we just kind of gum up the ground. I was lucky to draw that Colonian Tusker to fight their Colonian Tusker, because my curve was kind of whack.
Yeah, thankfully you were not getting pressured too much, and you got that 2-drop. That was good. Yeah, Kiora has seemed very strong, so I'm interested to see how this matchup plays out.
P-Foul won my few flyers, and they don't have a ton of flyers, but they have a ton of reach. I think they have Elvish Archer and Soul of the Wood.
Yep. Comes down there.
So I'll block there because I wanted to drain blood to Colonian Tusker and see what happened. Oh no, I wanted to Dark Gladiator.
Yeah. Or Gladiator, rather.
You'll see I don't use Vraska Throne until I kind of need to. I let the game develop more. Even after I cast it, I let the game develop a little bit more before I start drafting cards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just really wanted to kind of exhaust your options and then have, be able to draft from those 3 options to really get the biggest bang for your buck. Something I could definitely learn from, because I feel like when I play Vraska on the ladder, even part of my brain is like, oh, like get the value, like do it now, and then I'm only drafting cheaper creatures where you might not want to do that.
Yeah, I tend to just play out my cards before using a particular Spellslinger's effects. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of trying to make this the Elvish Archer a 1/3, so my P-Foul can trade
attack
with
into it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm big of Vivian fan, and things to learn about Vivian is don't use your hero power if you don't have to. Like, you rather curve out. I've learned the similar stuff with Angrath. Like, don't try to make it trigger. If it triggers, that's great, but core concepts of Magic and for Spellslingers, just if you curve out better than they will, you'll win more games than they will.
Yeah, I feel like I get caught up on like, oh, I want to get the most value possible, and it's it really is about sequencing and curving at the end of the day. And then when you get those bonuses, of course, it's very beneficial. But yeah, it's a really commanding presence on the board here, and that Turn to Stone really just does so much work.
Yeah, if I didn't have Flagrant Foul, maybe I would save it for something slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Here, I think a lot of people would sack the Merchant of Death, but I'm just going to go ahead and sack the thing that can attack and just apply as most pressure as I can. So they haven't cast any Drag Unders, and I think they have a Showgram in their deck, so I'm like, is this Trask gonna be good? Well,
Yeah.
I'm like trying to think about what actually died this game for Necrotic Ooze. I can't exactly see my graveyard, so I'm kind of in tank slightly. I have a ton of mana, so I just go with the Trask.
Yeah.
And I don't have like multiple creatures to play. I have 2 reactive spells and 1 creature, so I'm probably just gonna play 1 creature next turn.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a reasonable choice to make. And I actually agree with you. Like, my instinct just seeing your line was, sure, it's nice to get the 2 cards off of, the merchant, but just turning a 2/2 defender into value, I think, is probably a little bit better. Because, I don't think Connell really wants to block it all that much to give you the card advantage anyway. So, you can continue to pressure like you have been. So
I don't want to bust my Flagrant Foul. It will take my whole turn. I'm like, I guess I'll play a Trask. I don't think it's going to live very much. Like, he has his Icy Manipulator to at least stun it. But I think he's actually hoarding removal like I am.
Yeah.
And waiting for the actual cards that matter, because, Vraska's Grub and P-Foul don't matter that much. It's actually going to come down to Mega Sources and Octopummelers and whatever get off Vraska's Throne.
Yep. Exactly. And it's really great that you've been able to just have such an aggressive presence, right, and keep your life total high, because it is a bit scary, right, when you can see Araxpathies at some point just swing for 10. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there's a core concept in Magic of who's the beatdown. If I was playing against Chandra, I'd be more defensive because they try to kill me. In this instance, the Leviathans are looming, so I have to kill them before they get, eventual advantage over me. Here I'm thinking about Play Caller. I can replace it and give things -2/-2. It would effectively kill the flyer, and almost kill the Centaur Archer. And by kill, I mean making it irrelevant for combat.
Yeah.
But I think my Wharf Scab is going to draw 2 cards because it will die on my turn, and I'll just keep the juices flowing. I'll probably draw into another Turn to Stone, or maybe even my Overrun, and close out the game.
Yeah, and I like this line too. I mean, you do want to hold Flagrant Foul, but you just want to keep the pressure up. And I like the Wharf Scab choice as well. Just a bigger Merchant of Death, essentially. And just try and close things out as soon as possible.
It's important to keep pressure up on when you're playing Vraska, or even when we're playing Garruk, which just came out, because you want creatures to die on your turn. You want the finales to double on Vraska, and you want to have your hero power for Garruk. So even though they're kind of both control-y kind of Spellslingers, you really have to keep up early aggression if you want to maximize the mid to late game turns like I'm doing here.
Jeez, yeah, these turns are just brutal because Connell's just trying to recover. I mean, Tiny definitely helps a bit to recover, and probably was one of the better ones to draw there.
Yeah, I'm completely happy jamming all my creatures into anything Connell plays here. Happy to have Merchant of Death or Wharf Scab die, and plays a lot of stuff though.
Yeah, that was definitely a good recovery on that turn.
Here I'm just pointing to possible blocks.
Yeah. Really good habit to get in, right? Especially when you're thinking about cards that have effects. So, like, if they block the Soul in the Wood first, right, they're going to gain that life on that first block, and that's going to affect their overall life total. So thinking about that is good. Obviously, the most optimal block there for them.
Funny, in Magic, I do the exact same thing. Like, before I attack, they have their own battlefield, and I just line up my attackers in front of their blockers before I announce my attacks. And then I'm like, okay, this attack is fine. I attack with everything. And they're like, was he trying to trick me? And sometimes they block differently than the optimal blocks I set up. So it may look like I'm telegraphing the optimal blocks. I think I'm trying to level them.
You heard it here, folks. This is how you become a pro Magic player. You just really mess with your opponent.
I usually play really fast, but that's one of the times I take time to think is lining up combat.
Yeah, I think if you've got the time and you're really just trying to play as optimally as possible, especially in a tight game, it's just you're really rewarded for just utilizing the information on the battlefield and just really being able to say, okay, this is 100% like what they should be doing, and how is this going to affect my way of closing out the game.
So my gut there was a block with 5/3, and I should have. I can't recall why my gut was doing it, but I know after seeing. So if I block with the 5/3, I get a zombie in my hand. I get one zombie. And if I was looking further into the future, I'd realize I would rather have one zombie in my hand than two, because I want to get as much value as this Gristlebrand as I can. So Gristlebrand's going to die. It's going to give you 7 black cards, some of which you can cast in the same turn because, for pain cast. But because of Vraska, it's doubled, so you draw 14 cards. So my hand's going to be full. So I want to expend every card possible before sacking this Gristlebrand. The second zombie in my hand would just be a 2/2 instead of a random black card. And I would rather have a random black card in my hand instead of a 2/2.
Yeah.
So I made a pretty small mistake, but something I did notice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, we can. It's possible for us to get into like play patterns of habit, right? And so like you're probably part of your brain was like, oh well, no, I want to attack next turn because I want to get the value out of Vraska's double finale. But as you explained very clearly, it just is more beneficial to have that random black card than a 2/2 zombie.
Here I have to decide if I want a random card or a mana gem. I have to decide over the mana gem. And clearly the game's in the bag after this.
Ooh, brutal. Brutal turn.
Yeah, if this little zombie wasn't there, I could have drawn one more. I don't know which one I would have drawn. It's all random.
Was it Grim Grain? It might have been.
Yeah.
But I think you got enough gas in the tank here, regardless.
Yeah, a very, very minor mistake, but some I noticed and some I would like to correct if I'm trying to play optimally.
Yeah. Well, Gristlebrand is just such a brutal card to draft off the throne. It's got a... I mean, I imagine that's the best late game card, besides Tarask.
Yeah, I mean, it shows the power level of Vraska here. This is my second Tarask in hand. Gristlebrand drew me, 9 cards? And that's something you just can't have from something like Kiora. Like, the Leviathans will come, but, you're still playing, like, all commons in your deck.
Yeah, you don't even have to play any cards here. You've just got, like, a full board they have to deal with.
The Mega Piranha from Change Teams.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. That makes sense. The Drag Under, not gonna do it.
Yeah, the power of Vraska Throne really showed up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, again, we're playing 3 out of 5. I'll be up 2-0 here, and the next game I'll be playing. So the rest of the tournament, it was just 2 out of 3, with only the finals being 3 out of 5. So I've been playing Teferi and Vraska the whole time, but now I have to choose a different one, and I choose probably the worst performing Spellslinger on ladder in Sorin. Has some weak cards in the deck, some Crafted Gliders and Blood Chalices,
but I do
the package
believe
is pretty coherent though.
Yeah.
They play enough vampires in it to get the job done. It also plays Reflective Golem, which is a 5 mana. I'm sorry, it's a 6 mana 5/5, but it's a 10/10 if you only have one color in your deck. So it's a pretty stout creature for this format. Like, usually the bigger stuff wins when you're playing limited.
Absolutely.
The small stuff trades, and whoever has the biggest card wins.
Yeah, and you get a little bit of a, you know, a gamble to see what you hit off the Bloodline Creator, which is definitely a nice part of playing Sorin.
Yeah, there's some big ones you can hit. Yeah, again, any card that can hit a non-common. So you can get like Olivia Voldaren or Strahd or something, you know. Really expensive, powerful cards. Decide not to Sorin's Feast, the Snapshot Turtle here was a 2/4. If it would have killed it outright, man, probably would have, but let's go ahead and develop my creature board right quick.
Yeah, I definitely generally like that sequencing. Just getting on the board and seeing how things develop.
Rowdy Reveler, and I have some vampires to give it flying in the near future. Seems like a good play. Don't believe I have attacks. The Sorin's Feast doesn't have a good target either. Oh, I decided to give myself good attacks. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm fine with the 3/1 here, trading off with the 2/3. Ooh, they had shields up. I didn't. If I knew they had shields up, I probably wouldn't have tried to do that and just played that Rowdy Reveler. But I really didn't need to get the Snapshot Turtle off the board too, because it was growing pretty fast, and I didn't have great blocks on it. I didn't exactly want to trade Rowdy Reveler forward. And I do know they have shields up in their deck, so it just could have lived. Getting a little dicey,
Yeah, some pretty strong turns so far from Connell. So you were thinking about the Sorin's Feast attack.
Yeah, drains 3 and puts the toughness on a random vampire you have.
Yep.
You optimally want to hit something that has exactly 3 toughness. If it has 1 toughness, like this Lead Vanguard, it'll only drain 1.
Right.
Well, if you hit something that has more toughness, like this Ceremonial Guard, it won't kill it, and you don't know where the Sorin's Feast is going. It's a good card, just I hadn't found a good spot to cast it yet.
Well, really good that you did end up playing out those 2 creatures with the Frostlings coming down. Give you a little bit of wiggle room on that attack.
Now Sorin's Feast looks good because they have a 3 toughness creature.
Oh, yeah.
They have 2 actually, so I think I just jam both, yeah.
And not a bad place to put the toughness either.
There we got 5/10. What's up?
Ooh, for the staff.
Yeah, it could be anything. They don't have anything that kills creatures with a trap that kills creatures in their main deck, like Immolating Glare or Vindictive Shot. But they can definitely find them off staff, so it gives me a little bit of pause in the future.
You thinking about Absorb here potentially?
Yeah, I'll think about Absorb. So I played my weakest card.
Yeah, makes sense.
No, they end up finding Immolating Glare off the staff, which I wasn't afraid of, but I can't play around it. It's a low chance they have it, but it would be the best find for them. But
Lucky Connell with the Immolating Glare.
if it was a normal standard game and they did the same sequencing, I probably would take a longer time to think about attacking there. If there was a higher certainty they had Immolating Glare. But, you know, they could add anything. They could add Worm's Wake, and I look like a fool if I didn't attack.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, you're just kind of pecking away at Connell's life total and, you know, working away at these 4 toughness creatures. Got the golems for trying to push through. And it is going to be a pretty big problem for him to deal with. they do get the optimal block with the turtle, most likely.
Or the hallway on it.
Oh, or the hallway, yeah.
If we have to eat my stuff, and I just have to basically do more damage than they have toughness at this point.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Connell's like, all right, my board's full. Let me just chip away and play some other creatures if I can, or some of the flyers off the traps.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty clear here he wants to clear up his board space to deploy probably some flyers from his hand. But I really can't take, a ton of damage. So I was gonna kind of bite the bullet and just make some decent blocks. Blood Chalice doesn't do a ton.
But you have a mana-efficient turn and hope for the best.
Don't know how combat's going to shape out, so I'm not even going to use a charge to say make my 10-7 a 12-8. Just wait a little bit. Bloodlord is quite smaller than my Reflective Willows I have at the moment, and there are a bunch of other small creatures in my deck, which I'd rather pump to kind of more even out the battlefield. Connell's removal, Teferi's removal is stun-based, and if you can even out your creatures, it really doesn't put a target on any particular creature you have.
Yeah, spreading the wealth, as it were.
Yeah, against in the face of removal, you want to make not one very appealing creature to remove, but
yeah, diversify
make them all
threats.
All kind of tough to deal with. Yeah. Crafted Glider, a good target for the Chalice here.
Definitely. Yep. They're relevant. They've got the 4/3 flyer. Starting to pressure you back, so. There's the Absorb. Okay.
Yeah. While the Crafted Glider would have traded with the 4/3, it was a weaker card than the Bloodlord.
Yep.
That's why I led with it into Absorb.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the Bloodlord is going to trigger your passive, so that's definitely pretty relevant.
Yeah, we're triggering passives now. I almost have lethal with all my attackers. If probably one more vampire can get through for combat damage.
Yeah. Ooh, Creator. Definitely a great card to see.
Yeah, not great in combat here. It's just going to trade off and get me or not trade off, it's just going to die. And then, I find hopefully a stronger card than the average exists in a starter deck.
Yeah.
I can pump it up to make it get through combat a little bit. 4/2 probably trade with something.
Is Golem the highest converted mana cost card in the deck?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I think 6 is the cap here.
Drain Blood, definitely going to help a little bit. Pad that life total by 2.
I would guess I pumped the Creator here. Or I'm looking for, try to beta block for Drain Blood, so I get some value off this Drain Blood right now.
Yeah, I could see that. That seems reasonable.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. I think I want to convert this Drain Blood to something, and then after the battlefield shapes out a little bit more, I'll use the Chalice. Also, the Chalice could kill me. It dealt me 1 damage.
Yep. Yeah, it gotta be pretty careful.
I want to cast a Drain Blood because I'm at so low life total.
Yeah.
And if they show up with like Immolated Glade here and I need the Chalice attack me for 6, I'll die.
Drana. Oh boy. What a card. Oh, and the second Absorb.
Yep, got him.
Yes.
Yeah, Drana is definitely an above average card for a starter deck. Especially with the Chalice.
And here I'm just praying they don't have another trap. Ooh, Bloodlord was definitely a solid draw there.
So I'm thinking about using the Chalice. My attacks are lethal.
Yeah. Yep.
So I guess I don't. It's probably just a wrap.
Yep. Yeah. Looks like it. Wow. Sorin to close it out.
Yeah, I was keeping track of their stats for the tournament. Sorin went undefeated.
That just that feels really surprising. I definitely would not have guessed that going in.
So while we're at it, I'll go ahead and pull it up. These are stats for the tournament. A lot of people play Cure, a lot of people play Teferi and Vraska. But weirdly, the most performing deck was Sorin.
4-0. Wow.
Maybe a small sample size, or maybe just this package is so tightly knit with vampires and like Refresh Golden is strong, Figure Foul is strong, and Bloodline Creator can get these cards like Drano. So it has the abilities of to pull cards outside the game, like the Fairy does with the staff, and like Vraska does with the throne.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a big factor, just having access to things that obviously just make your deck that should be more even on power level, spike with being able to get that. But yeah, it's interesting to think about Sorin being just a very succinct strategy, and I will say, even though Sorin's been one of the weaker Planeswalkers on the ladder, sometimes if you do have that kind of nuts draw and just like really beat down your opponent, it can be pretty hard to overcome. And that was a close game, but those Bloodlords definitely did a ton of work too.
Yeah, for sure. Sorin's just a great limited deck. Like you draft your theme, you have your theme, and it's just working.
Yep.
That didn't transfer very well to standard. Well, where people are have their epics and their mythics, and have a plan for strong vampire aggro. But when it comes down to the starters, I think it's one of the best aggro-ish Spellslingers, while also having good late game with things like Reflect Golem and the Bloodlords help close out the game and with a good body.
Yeah.
So for people looking to play starter deck tournaments in the future, I like Teferi a lot. Could be tough to play, but it gives you a lot of versatility, and just basically playing flyers is a good plan. Just any small power level format you do, and then Vraska's pretty strong too. And Sorin's just kind of this dark horse underdog that just performs really well. So I also would recommend him.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful, Tom, just to be able to talk about some of the data, and also encouraging other players too, to whether it's just on the ladder or through something like a starter deck tournament. I think it's really nice, even when the sample size is small. It's kind of draws your eye to, okay, there might be something going on here that would not have been something I certainly would not have assumed that Sorin would have been one of the starter decks. I think Teferi, Vraska, and Kiora kind of have these things going for them, like on the surface. But it's really helpful to kind of get this glimpse of, what does it mean to play in a tournament format that, maybe something people are not very used to, and like how do you then evaluate these decks? How do you kind of shift your mindset on card evaluation or deck evaluation when the power level or the power curve is a lot more flat? But I think you really hit on those points and why those decks are a bit stronger.
Yeah, this tournament was great to kind of get some data on what's strong for new players. Like somebody just picks up the game, they maybe are still in bronze, and like they have to get their first key, and they're like, okay, which Planeswalkers should I pick? Because there's like 20 something of them. So hopefully this gives a little bit of insight to the new players. Like, you can win with the Teferi starter deck. I've actually queued accidentally with Teferi starter deck and ranked ladder in Mythic and won with it. So that was one of my kind of evidence to play the Teferi, because like, man, if I can just win with the starter deck, then it should be pretty good. I also did that with Liliana. It's accidentally queuing into ranked a long time ago, but
I love that.
I mean, a lot of these decks are strong. They're pretty well built. Some are a little disjointed, like Dritz doesn't have legends in it.
Yeah.
Your legends just come from your signature cards, and kind of like Vivian 2 is like the common splash cards on deck grade. But it's a good starting point. I mean, yeah, if for people just opening up their first key to starting the game, I think this is pretty good direction for where you should go. I think if anybody's listening to this that just opened up one key to start the game, I think I would pick Sorin as your next Planeswalker and roll with that.
Sage advice here. I think it's clear that there are some decks that stand out a bit, and I definitely hats off to the creators and everyone who's worked on this, that you can just take some of these starter decks and they operate pretty smoothly, at least in their sort of core concepts, curving out synergy, card advantage, some of those fundamentals. And it was really fun. I had some of the closest games I've probably ever played against Monman in the tournament, and just really definitely got even more of the itch to really be competitive and just playing as tight as possible. It's really, for anyone who has not gotten to do as much limited gameplay, whether that's drafting or sealed, if you come from the Magic the Gathering community, it's a way of really learning the game too, at a different kind of level, and it's how I learned the game. I don't know about you, Tom, but I just always found that you get a lot out of doing these kinds of quote unquote non-constructed formats.
Yeah, being good at limited will make you a better constructed player, where that's not the case, vice versa. You just learn the strengths of just the weaker cards, and you learn very subtle synergies, and you're kind of forced to play with things you wouldn't normally play with. You just gotta learn cards that you don't normally learn, and you have to learn game states you don't normally learn, and that will transfer you to construction no matter what. So yeah, this is our version of limited and Spellslingers at the moment, with these starter deck tournaments. And yeah, even just playing a tournament myself, I feel like I learned a thing or two about how to better apply some concepts I learned from limited into my constructed and ladder gameplay.
And next time, if we do it, I think Garrick may also be a bit of a front runner for a strong one. At least some of the games I got to see in the tournament that the LGS official Discord had been doing, that I got to be a part of. That deck seems like it sometimes just kind of ran folks over. So that actually might be. I don't know what the numbers will shake out to be. How good by the data is the Garrick starter deck, but it kind of stood out to me when I watched. I don't think Ruxora, who won the whole tournament, I don't think he dropped a game with Garrick as the starter deck. So be interested to see how that develops, and I'll be sure to have all of Bossmtg's info in our description. Definitely a person you want to be following and just really learning from in this game. Just an extremely gifted, competitive, accomplished player, and just really appreciate you, Tom, being able to do this, because I get a ton out of it, and we're on the same team, and I just imagine so many other folks can really get even so much out of just watching this kind of limited format. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So you can check me out on Twitter, Bossmtg, with the underscore in the middle, so Boss_MTG. I may end up streaming on Twitch again. It was just twitch.tv/Bossmtg. And then I have a website, but it also needs a little bit of updating, but it's for strategy articles only. That is slingspells.com. I like to collect this data to kind of present a article for people just starting up the game or for future starter deck tournaments. Using this data, using my own opinions to kind of give a tier list of the starter decks. So, I guess be on the lookout for some content on slingspells.com or on my stream. We'll see.
I'll be there, man. If you fire up that stream, you definitely got some folks in the community, I'm sure, who would be happy to jump in. And if you have not checked out slingspells.com, it's something I think I've had in my details like since I started posting on YouTube, because Tom is really great, and I was able to work with him and put up an article months ago, I guess now, and just really grateful for that opportunity and just all the things that you're bringing to the community. So yeah, any other final words about our starter deck tournament or anything for the future that you're... I know you mentioned the stream. Is there anything else you're working on?
Not really. I just appreciate the coverage that you're doing, and I like how our team is kind of using our community to bolster the community as a whole, by, like, content like you're making this, or through articles or through tournaments or through just general discourse with people that have questions, and whatever social media we're on, maybe the Discord server of the main Discord server, or the LGS one, or Reddit or whatever. I just want to thank the viewers for watching this and tuning in, and just caring about the game, because it's a very good game. But just hadn't got the attention it deserves. So hopefully we can spread the word and get some more people playing, and keep the game thriving for as long as it can.
Could not have said it better myself. Absolutely. I have very much fallen in love with this game, and have been really grateful to get to work with everyone on our team, but also just with this really, really great community. And definitely, we'll see how things shake out in the future, but if there's any other future collabs that we could do, that would be awesome. I'm sure we'll get some comments, maybe other requests for things, and hopefully we can connect. But other than that, definitely just thanks so much for taking the time, Tom, and best of luck in, I think, the third month in a row getting number one. Is that right?
Tulare got number one.
Oh, I forgot.
January. But we're gonna have a tight race this month. We both like our decks. He's playing Davriel, and I mostly play Garrick, but I dabble to other Spellslingers. But we're figuring out. Both new Spellslingers are very fun, so hopefully people are having as much fun as we are.
Yeah, I think the reception's been really positive, so it's refreshing to have these two. I mean, Garrick's definitely more of that kind of standard mid-range style, but certainly Davriel is something we've not really played with as much. There's a lot of kind of newness to, and just a lot of competitiveness with both decks as people are developing, kind of those optimal builds. But yeah, definitely keep on doing what you're doing, and thanks for stopping by, and hopefully we'll catch you in the future.
Yeah, you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.